Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wyld. Today we are talking about Uber banned him after he won a credit card chargeback. Is that allowed? So recently I got an email from one of my subscribers, BC, thank you so much for emailing me about this and making this video possible. And according to BC, it's a rideshare story with very good info for anyone dealing with the dirty end of Uber. Bold of you to assume that there's a clean end of Uber. So with that said, I want to go over everything that is being said in this article, how it actually is for Doordash, UberEats, and Grubhub drivers, and everything in between. So with that said, let's get started. When Don Kelly ran into trouble with an Uber charge, he did what so many customers do. He filed a credit card chargeback, and he won. Or did he? A few weeks later, when he tried to hail an Uber, the ride-sharing company dropped some bad news on him. While his credit card may have reversed the charge, Uber wasn't so willing to forgive him. And if he didn't pay up, his ride privileges would be suspended permanently. So one of the things that a lot of people do in terms of getting a refund, especially with Uber, sometimes withholding payments or adding extra charges to your card through things like authorization holds on Uber and UberEats, which a lot of customers have been annoyed at the double charges overall. One of the things they do is they dispute the actual charge with their credit card company, and the credit card company also ends up giving them the charge back anyway. It's kind of like the backup refund method on top of the current refund method, which I'm not always a fan of the refund method because of how it's abused, not because of the validity of it. But when that does happen, you can get wrongfully deactivated for that subject, and even rightfully deactivated for that subject. Uber, Doordash, all of these gig companies have kind of been cracking down on customers who have been abusing this method. Kelly's story is a real consumer conundrum. Can you win and lose a consumer dispute? Well, in this case, you won the battle, but you lost the war. That's kind of how Uber is playing this now. Whether it's right or wrong and whether good people get caught up in it, that's inevitable. But either way, some people who have been getting wrongfully deactivated for all the right reasons end up the ones most hurt by this. Because the bad people who have been abusing the system and trying to get as many refunds as possible, or say that they don't for the sake of maintaining an image, but behind closed doors, that's exactly what they do. That's what happens. And there are more questions. What's the best way to resolve a billing problem with Uber? Does Uber use AI for customer support? Does Uber ban users who win a credit card chargeback? What's the best way to resolve an Uber billing problem? See if you could take it up with the company. If they refuse to refund you, then all bets are off. Even though I don't like the idea of causing an extra refund, but whatever. Does Uber use AI for customer support?
Yes.
They use AI for a lot of reasons. Does Uber ban users who win a credit card chargeback?
Obviously.
Especially if an extra authorization hold, because there are people who have reported that there are multiple charges on their card for the same one ride. And then because they disputed with their credit card company or debit card company, that's why they end up getting deactivated. Which sucks, because all you wanted was your money back, and you are being held accountable for money that you didn't even spend with the company. And now you have to fight the company again? Like, that's stupid. The answers will take you down a road that leads to frustration. While there's hope for Kelly, their ultimate conclusion will probably leave you as troubled as it did me. How he got banned. First, a surprise charge of $47 from Uber. Kelly's tale of getting banned by Uber started when a charge of $47 showed up on his statement in May. It claimed that he hailed an Uber in New York. I knew I hadn't taken any Ubers for about a month, he says. In fact, I was flying back from Greece on the date of the charge. Somebody hacked your account and used your money to pay for an Uber. That is the fault of the fraud that has taken place on the account and the overall fault of the company for allowing that in the first place. Kelly opened up the Uber app and sent a message to the ride-sharing company. He explained that he had a watertight alibi and could prove that he wasn't even in the United States when the charge happened. This appeared to be a duplicate charge for a ride he had taken in Manhattan a month before. Okay, so again, this goes right back to the point of having a second authorization hold for the same ride. A lot of times, at least speaking for me, they come off my account relatively quickly, but it seems like they got a second charge the same way. And if you don't know what an authorization hold is on Uber Eats, I made a video talking all about that. I will leave that in the description. Feel free to check that out. Let's listen in on their online chat. Uber, I understand that you have a concern about the charge in your account. I do apologize for the inconvenience that this has been causing you. Don, this is definitely not the experience we want you to have while using our services. We need a screenshot of your bank statement that shows us the amount of $47 being settled. Yes, it's not on my Uber account anywhere. It's a charge to Uber on my American Express card on a date I did not use Uber. I will need to forward you to our specialized team for further investigation. They will reach out to you via email link to this account as soon as possible. Okay, so what I would do is actually take a screenshot of the Amex bank statement of the charge that has either been settled or what have you, and also send a screenshot of you not taking an Uber that day. Then when you send that to him, take a picture of that as well. It is your responsibility as a customer and as a driver or whatever you are to make sure that if something does happen, you have a paper trail and you can hold these people accountable. And not surprisingly, Uber never got back to him. So Kelly exercised her rights under the Fair Credit Billing Act and disputed the charges on his credit card. And it worked! American Express sided with him and reversed the erroneous charge. Yeah, I think a lot of these credit card companies know, especially with the repeat history of Uber, that this is something that always takes place. So there you go, you got your money back from Uber. I would also make sure you try to switch ride-sharing companies from there if it's going to be a continuous issue, maybe even remove your credit card information as a whole, just in case, if this was the end of the story. But as they're about to say, but that wasn't the end of the story. Now he's banned from Uber until he pays up. Fast forward to August when Kelly tried to hail an Uber again. This time, the app stopped him. Uber informed me I had an outstanding balance of $47 that had to be paid before I could get a ride, he says. In other words, pay up or you're banned from Uber. Kelly couldn't believe it. Wasn't the credit card dispute the end of the case? Hold that thought. I'll come back to it in a minute. And that's how Uber tries to gaslight you into making it sound like you're the problem, even though you've tried to tell them that this was an issue that they need to handle, which is why you need a paper trail. You could take them straight into a lawsuit with that, man. I am sure you could have gotten some good money with that. He contacted customer support again and explained what had happened. Duplicate charge, his efforts to resolve this through normal customer service channels, and the credit card dispute, which he won. None of it mattered to Uber's AI chatbots, he said. They continued to insist I owed the amount, and my riding privileges were suspended until it was paid. Yeah, Uber's really bad about that. They will do everything in their power to wall you off with AI or chatbots or whatever, just to prevent you from talking to people. Irritated, Kelly tried to get a human on the phone, but apparently that's impossible, he says. They also like to put you through transfer loops once you actually do get humans on the phone. The support teams are just the north side of useless. Last month, I read your column in my local newspaper about an Uber dispute, he says. It mentioned that your site publishes the email address of Uber's executives, so on 11/7, I emailed all of them about this issue, politely summarizing the issue, and to have someone contact me personally to resolve the disputed charge. That was nearly 2 weeks ago, and I have the date received. No acknowledgement or response from anyone. With that, you've tried everything in your power. Take it to the courtrooms. They brought that on themselves. Kelly was at the end of his rope. Can you help? He asked. I have extensive documentation to back up everything I'm saying. This man is smart. He documented everything. The only thing I'm slightly annoyed at is that the photos in the documentation are not posted within the article itself. But who am I to judge? My team and I have been waiting for a case like this for a while. And boy, were we ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Whoa there! We still have a few more topics to cover first.
Now, I'm going to make a separate video on the best way to resolve a billing problem with Uber. So we're going to skip to the remainder of the story. It appears this trip had a delayed payment. I contacted Uber on Kelly's behalf and remembered how I said it was not very talkative. It didn't even acknowledge my inquiry, but it did get back to Kelly. This is Sean with Priority Support. As a follow-up to a voicemail I left you earlier today regarding an outstanding balance on your account. I was able to look into your concern, and it appears this trip had a delayed payment where you were not initially charged on 3/29/23. That's a bunch of political nonsense. Let me fix that right here.
This is Sean with Priority Support. I was able to take a look at the concern, and while we understand that this was completely our fault and we were trying to scam you out of money, we're gonna claim this was about a billing issue way before this even took place to begin with.
Yeah, that sounds about right. With that said, I have ensured there is no longer an outstanding balance on your account, so you should be all set. To help make up for this poor experience, I've also gone ahead and added $50 to your account to use on a future Uber trip or UberEats order. Thank you for your patience and understanding during this process. Basically, please don't sue us. We know we fucked around and we really don't want to find out. Well, Sean with Priority Support, I'm not even sure what a delayed payment where you were not initially charged means, since Kelly paid the charge for the first ride and then you charged him again, but thank you for fixing the problem and restoring Kelly's ride privileges. Like I said, they're trying to maintain image rather than tell the truth, especially since that is the piss poor integrity and character that is the failures of the Uber corporate office. It's sad that I had to go through so much frustration and aggravation and spend so much time fighting to correct a $47 mistake, Kelly told me. It seems obvious that if they just improved their own customer service process and communication, this all could have easily been avoided. Or, and just hear me out for a second, they could have just kept you off the platform and keep your loud mouth shut and hope that with all this frustration you would go,
man, this wasn't even worth it at the end of the day.
Even though you were 100% in the right. It's true, I think Uber's attitude is that AI can successfully address 95% of all of its customer service problems. The other 5% don't matter, and I'm afraid a story in a customer service blog is not enough to change corporate policy. You know, there is so much truth to that. As much as I hate to say it, no matter how much noise you can make on the subject, you can't get the wrong people to do the right thing. That's just how scumbags operate. That's why you need to make this such a loud and potentially costly issue for them, because at the end of the day, this is what's necessary. It's ironic that even today, when I tried to respond to Uber, that they literally had already closed their email thread and online chat conversation to replies. So I couldn't even say thanks, even though their email said I could continue the conversation by replying to the email or clicking here to view the online message. Doordash works that way too. Like, they say you could reply to it, but in reality, no, you can't. Because they don't give a crap about you at the end of the day. They would rather give you the hardest time in the world. He adds, but I definitely wanted to say thank you very much, sir, for interviewing and doing in just a few hours what I haven't been able to accomplish in literally months. You're a miracle worker. My advocacy team and I are happy that we could fix Kelly's problem with having his Uber ride privileges suspended, but a bigger problem looms. AI is a wrecking ball to customer service, and we can't just stand by and do nothing about it. AI is a wrecking ball for a lot of different opportunities. That's not just customer service. Can AI handle 95% of the problems, and can companies save money doing that? Yes, but does it make sense to stop AI in this way? I don't know. Either way, it's still a huge issue that every company needs to stop causing. Because while this is an issue with Uber, it's an issue with a lot of companies. And the fact of the matter is, it's that this is only the beginning. This is my opinion. It's worth what you pay for it. None of you pay me. There you go. Uber is one of the many companies, especially in the gig economy, that has been causing a lot of financial issues, not only for customers, but for drivers as well. And while I'm not a fan of the concept of refunding people with Uber because of how it's abused for refund methods and free food methods and what have you, and how that's actually affecting drivers, if there's a legitimate reason to not charge people, there should be a way to fight that. But that said, it's going to cost the company more money in the event that Uber fights in this way. Because let's be honest, $50 and the loss of $47 is going to cost a lot less than hiring an extra person or a couple of people to handle these issues. Even if it's just on a small scale or a grand scale, it's still going to cost them less money at the end of the day. Because you know what most people do?
Well, if Uber's not going to work out for me, I guess I'm switching to Lyft or InDrive or any other ride-hailing company.
Even though they're 100% right, they'd rather take the L than handle the headache, which is why I kind of like this website, the Elliott Report, because this is actually kind of cool. I like this. So if you also have an issue with any sort of credit card disputes, try to get in contact with Elliott, because apparently it worked after a couple of hours as opposed to fighting it for months. And we all know how stressful it is when you're fighting for months against a company that doesn't really care much for you. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.